Hello students, welcome to Vihira Academy. I am your educator Dr. Hina Devnani. Today we are going to study chapter number 2 of 11th standard, that is biological classification. This is the second part of this chapter. First part has already been discussed in the previous video. In the first part we have studied the introduction of classification, the five kingdom classification given by R.H. Whittaker, and we have also studied the first kingdom, that is kingdom Monera, including all the prokaryotic organisms. Today we are going to study second kingdom, that is kingdom Protista. So let's see what is there in this kingdom. Kingdom Protista includes all the single-celled eukaryotic organisms. These are mostly aquatic in nature. For example, algae. It is the primary producer in aquatic ecosystem. These organisms are, as I said earlier, eukaryotic organisms, but they are unicellular. Now, because they are eukaryotic, they have a proper nucleus, a true nucleus, and the nucleus is bounded by nuclear membrane. They also have membrane-bound organelles. They can move by cilia or by flagella. That are their locomotory organelles. The respiration in protistans can be either aerobic or anaerobic. That means they can breathe in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. Kingdom Protista is further divided into chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds and protozoans. These are the divisions of kingdom Protista. Now, let us see some of the examples of kingdom Protista. So here are the images showing the examples. Didinium, Paramecium, Stentor, Diflugia, Trypanosoma, Carchecium, Euglena and Amoeba. These are the examples of kingdom Protista. The first division of kingdom Protista is chrysophytes. Chrysophytes include all the diatoms and golden algae. Example, desmids. These organisms are found in fresh water as well as marine water. They are microscopic because they are unicellular and they float passively in water currents. Example, planktons. Most of them are photosynthetic. Now in diatoms, the cell walls form two thin overlapping shells, and these shells fit into each other like a soap box. Like you all might have seen a soap box. The cover of the soap box fits properly in the box. Similarly, here also the two shells fit each other properly. The walls of the cells are embedded with silica, and because of that, these walls are indestructible. Therefore, when they die, they leave behind a large amount of cell wall deposits in their habitat. And these deposits are of silica, which gets accumulated over billions of years. This accumulated substance is known as diatomaceous earth. It is gritty in nature and therefore it is used in polishing, filtration of oils as well as syrups. Chrysophytes or diatoms are actually the chief producers in the ocean. Now mostly they are unicellular flagellates, but some of them can also be amoeboid. The next division is dinoflagellates. From the name itself we can understand that it has two flagella. These organisms are mostly marine and photosynthetic. They appear in different colors like yellow, green, brown, blue or red. It depends on the pigments that are present in their cells. Their cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on their outer surface. Now, as I said earlier, these organisms have two flagella. First one lies longitudinally and the other one lies transversely in a furrow between its cell wall plates. Among the dinoflagellates, the red dinoflagellates have a capacity of dividing very rapidly. Sometimes they divide so rapidly that they cover the surface of the sea into red color and the entire sea appears red. This phenomena is known as red tide. Example is goniologs. During red tides, these organisms release large amount of toxins, and these toxins can be harmful to the marine animals as well as fishes. Here are the examples of some of the dinoflagellates. You can see that all of these organisms have flagella as their locomotory organs, and most of them have these flagella in pairs. That means they have two flagella. That's why they are known as dinoflagellates. This is the image of a sea showing red tide. You can see that the entire surface has been covered red. That is because of the dinoflagellate goniolochs. Let's move to the third division, that is euglenoids. Majority of euglenoids are freshwater organisms, and they are specially found in stagnant waters. They don't have a cell wall. Instead, they have a protein-rich layer which can be called as pellicle. And because of the pellicle, their body becomes flexible. These organisms also have two flagella. One flagella is a long flagella and the other one is a short one. Now these organisms are photosynthetic because they have pigments which are similar to higher plants. They can carry out photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight. But if there is absence of sunlight, that means if they are deprived of sunlight, they will behave like heterotrophic organisms. And at this time, they act like predators. Now, the pigments of euglenoids are similar to the higher plants. Example is euglena. Here, you can see some more examples of euglenoids. They don't have a cell wall and their body is flexible. You can see it in the image that most of them are green in color. That means they consist of chloroplast for carrying out photosynthesis. The next division is slime molds. Slime molds are saprophytic protistans. The body moves along decaying twigs and leaves engulfing organic material. They eat up the decaying twigs and leaves. And if there are suitable conditions, they will aggregate themselves and form some structures which are known as plasmodium. If there are unfavorable conditions, this plasmodium will differentiate and it will form certain fruiting bodies, and the fruiting bodies will consist of spores. Spores will be responsible for resistance towards the adverse condition. The spores can survive for many years, and it also has true walls. So the spores protect the slime molds for several years. These spores are then dispersed by air currents and then they germinate and form another organism. The fifth group is protozoans. All the protozoans are heterotrophic in nature. They can live as predators or parasites. These are believed to be primitive relatives of animals. This means that the animals have evolved from the protozoans. Now again, the protozoans are divided into four major groups. First group is amoeboid protozoans. As the name indicates, these protozoans have shape similar to amoeba. That means they don't have a fixed shape. These organisms can live in fresh water, seawater, or they can also live on moist land. They move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia, same like amoeba. Pseudopodia means the false feet. Some marine animals have silica shells on their surfaces. Example, ant amoeba. Ant amoeba is a parasite. Second group is flagellated protozoans. Now again, from the name itself you can understand that the protozoans having flagella are called as flagellated protozoans. The members of this group can be either free living or they can be parasitic. The parasitic forms cause diseases such as sleeping sickness. One example is trypanosoma. The third group is ciliated protozoans. Again, we can understand from the name that these organisms will have cilia on their outer surface. They actually have thousands of cilia, and these cilia are responsible for their movement. These organisms are aquatic in nature. They have a cavity. Cavity is also known as gullet that opens to the outside of the cell surface. The coordinated movement of these cilia are actually responsible for bringing the water laden with food to be steered into the gullet. So Actually, these cilia helps to take the food inside the mouth. Example is Paramecium. Paramecium is also known as slipper-like organism because of its shape. The fourth type is sporozoans. Sporozoans can also be considered as pathogens. These sporozoans include diverse organisms that actually have an infectious stage. The infectious stage is spore-like stage in their entire life cycle. That means these stages or these spore-like organisms are responsible for causing diseases. Now the most notorious among them is Plasmodium, also known as malarial parasites, which is responsible for causing malaria, a disease which has a staggering effect on human population. Here are some of the images of protozoans. The first image is of an amoeboid protozoan. The second image is of a flagellated protozoan. You can clearly see the presence of flagella in the image. The third image is of Paramecium having numerous cilia on its outer surface. And the fourth image is of Plasmodium, that is sporozoan. So these are the different kinds of protozoans. So now we have completed the second part of this chapter in which we have studied the second kingdom. Now in the third video we are going to study the third kingdom, that is kingdom fungi. Till then, take care, have a nice day and thank you.